Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
You're listening to Guiding Stars, Evolutionary Astrology Radio. This is your host, Kristin Fontana. Guiding Stars is an interactive, soul-centered astrology talk show using the symbolic language of evolutionary astrology to enlighten and empower you on this journey. If you've missed any prior broadcasts, there's an archive here at Healthy Life. That archive button is to the right of the Listen Live button that you clicked on to hear this show. Also, if you have any comments or suggestions, we do want to know about it. You can email me through my website at KristinFontana.com. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know, if you are a new listener, we do have a website available for you to learn more about evolutionary astrology. The website is schoolofelevolutionaryastrology.com. Within the site, we also have a learning forum. It's a message board where you can post questions or read prior posts on various subjects in evolutionary astrology. So we invite you to check it out and participate if you wish. Also, I just wanted to give a shout-out to the recent attendees at this wonderful weekend retreat we had, an evolutionary astrology retreat up in Packwood, Washington. And thanks to Laura Nalbandian for hosting this retreat at her family cabin. We had an incredible 3-day intensive weekend working on the EA paradigm and disconnecting with a lot of passionate souls dedicated to their own growth and to the forward movement of this work. So anyway, it was a wonderful weekend. We've already decided to take it a step further, and we'll be reconnecting next July, same location. More info to follow, but for those of you who missed it, it was just a wonderful time to connect to live, to practice all of this material that you've been studying privately. So anyway, keep an eye out for that in the coming months. I'm so excited to have a new guest back, Simon Forster from Sweden, and he met with me here on Guiding Stars last month as we took a look at Aries and the Natural Zodiac series that we have initiated. It was originally going to be a few shows, and it turned into 12 because I just was so floored and excited about Simon's approach to this work, and a wonderful teacher he is. So I'd like to welcome Simon back to Guiding Stars. Welcome back.
Thank you, Kristin. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I truly appreciate it.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to today as we take a look at Taurus and its relation to the rest of the signs and from an evolutionary perspective. Is there anything you'd like to share with the listeners before we get started?
I suppose I could just share with everybody that's interested in wanting to connect with me. You can find me at raisingvibrationsastrology.com. And if you're interested in understanding different types of the ways in which you can see evolutionary astrology, I've got some articles on there like the Saturn return and Mercury retrograde, and I feel that they can definitely aid souls that are going through those types of situations in their lives, or if you do have Mercury retrograde. And yes, if you're interested in wanting to learn astrology with myself, I also host a variety of schools, and also I have a YouTube channel called Raising Vibrations, and what that does is it basically gives us weekly astrological updates. And you can also finally look at the series I've created, which is called Learn Astrology, and it's basically a smaller version of what we're doing today with yourself, Kristin, and this whole entire show that we're going to be doing. So yeah, you can find that out on YouTube as well.
Well, thank you for all that you're doing to bring more awareness on the subject here, Simon. Wonderful. We are so fortunate to have technology to be as it is now, 100%. Right? Just here you're in Sweden and out here in Portland, Oregon, and we're connecting, and we've got YouTube for free access to material, and the Internet, wonderful resource. So, all right, ready to go?
Absolutely.
Let's talk Taurus. Hey, you know, Venus is retrograde currently. Everybody's feeling it. They know it. Can't help but know it. It's a part of our reality that it creates this inversion of energy where we're really reflecting about what it is that we need at this stage. And if there has been any unfinished business in our relationships, or even returning to things that we have shelved in terms of how we earn old projects or creative thoughts, things, this is a time when we can bring everything back onto the table for discussion and for reflection in order for us to move forward in our journey. And Taurus is ruled by the planet Venus. It is in the sign of Leo currently, but timely topic for us today. So I'll let you run with it, Simon, and I'll jump in as you wish.
Thank you so much. Okay. Well, as I just wanted to share with everyone that since the first show, I've deeply reflected upon how I would like to contain the message of all the 12 signs, and especially how to see how each archetype itself has incredible influence by the other signs. I think that as we go through the series, and we call it the natural zodiac, of course, my main aim is to show you that even though we see Taurus as Taurus and we have these definitions associated with it, a lot of those definitions are actually influenced by the other signs that Taurus is interacting with. And so I'm going to try to highlight that today in a way that I feel is sort of a Capricornian expression of a systematic approach. And I hope to create some clarity as well as I go through that. So I feel that when we are connecting to the essential essence of Taurus, and this I think is really important for everybody to recognize, that when you're trying to understand the symbols and the archetypes themselves, there's always an underlying reality that doesn't have a human condition to it or a set of man-made ideas about what it is. It just is. And that even in itself cannot be described. And that's kind of the undercurrent and the evolution that promotes the way that these symbols and archetypes manifest themselves. So there just is. It's kind of a Piscean ultimate expression of it. And so Taurus represents that process of survival, okay, this instinctual process of survival. Before I elaborate on that, I just wanted to let everybody know that Taurus is ruled by Venus, as Kristin had mentioned, and Taurus is also a yin energy, okay, so the energy is coming back from the external and back into the internal, and so therefore we have the archetype of inhalation. So Aries was so much about the exhalation, the exploration. They're moving away from the center as we exhale, and then we pause, and then, of course, through the natural law of breath, we return to the center, and Taurus is that next phase of interning. So when we think of Taurus as a sort of feminine archetype, we can see that the essential underlying evolutionary pattern or a need of Taurus is survival. How do we inwardly look within ourselves and from that place establish around our environment what we need to survive? How do we sustain ourselves on a very physical level, of course, through the body? And as we connect to that space in a very deep level, we recognize that there is a development of needs that arises from that process of instinctual survival, that response, that very, very basic physical response to surviving. How do I survive this process? And then there from that point onwards, as it flows into the psyche, there is a response of, okay, what do I need? And so therefore I identify my resources around me. And it's that identification of resources and then the interact with them that is that yin energy of attracting them to you so that you can then sustain yourself. So Taurus as an archetype from the evolutionary perspective is that necessity of survival, and so therefore through that survival, how do I sustain myself? What are my needs? What are my essential needs? And as we go up another level to a more conscious realization of this, we then establish values around those needs that are based and coming from this instinctual feeling of survival. And this, I feel, is really important to digest when trying to understand the core of this archetype, because if we recognize that as the first element of the Earth trine with Virgo and Capricorn, we realize that when we are essentially needing to go out in our lives, and now we're in Aries and we've established this new path, we then start returning and gathering information that goes, okay, this is what I need, this is not what I need, and slowly but surely we start to then develop a relationship, an internal relationship with ourselves. And this is where the archetype of Venus being co-ruled with Libra. Okay, so we have Taurus and Libra ruled both by Venus. And this is the inside of Venus. This is the yin energy of Venus. This is the inner relationship to ourselves that we have. And when we are in conversation with ourselves and we are forming that internal relationship with ourselves, we are essentially understanding what do we need, how do we survive, how do we sustain this physical presence of ourselves. Okay, and it's also really, really important to recognize as well that as we now expand more on what Taurus means in that sense, as we have now understood that it's about survival, it's about our needs, it's about our personal needs within ourselves, and how we create a value system around that. Okay, so each of us will have different values based on the sign and wherever Venus is in the astrology chart and whatever sign's ruling your second house. Everybody, or every one of us from an evolutionary perspective, will actually have very specific needs. And as we essentially externalize that in the world, that's when we form relationships with other people to say, hey, this is what I need in this relationship so that I can then come to what Taurus teaches us again. And this is another sort of parallel to what Taurus symbolizes as well, over and above survival, and that is how do I basically create self-reliance. And I was reading a post that wasn't even evolutionary astrology related, and they had mentioned or had written that maybe Taurus could be perceived as the orphan. And it struck a very powerful sort of chord within my consciousness, because I realized that there's actually a lot of truth to that. That Taurus in itself can be perceived as the orphan in that way, because if we understand the psychology and the nature and the archetype of a soul that has obviously got nobody to rely upon, we can actually see that, and this is where it gets beautiful to introduce these two sextiles. Taurus is actually sextiled, which is the 60-degree mark between Taurus and the other two signs on left and right. It's Pisces, okay? And Pisces, of course, as an archetype, very simply, is that surrender. And so that sextile between Taurus and Pisces actually teaches us that on one level, yes, it's the conversation within ourselves that we have to source, and that we are the source of our own essential journey upon this plane. But it also teaches us that there are circumstances in our lives where we actually have to rely upon ourselves and surrender to the external reality in order for us to survive, and that becomes the stimulus for self-reliance, this necessity to have to trust within ourselves and find our own sort of survival. And if we move along to the right-hand side of the chart and we go to Cancer, which is, of course, the other sextile that influences Taurus so much, you can see that Cancer as an archetype is about security and how we create and nourish and create protection within ourselves. And, of course, Pisces and Cancer trine each other, and they help Taurus facilitate that necessity to, when we are in circumstances within our lives that are out of our control, and we have to surrender to them, we actually get taught that lesson of turning inward and saying, how can I use and facilitate on my own needs and own resources to create that security and, of course, protection and nourishment.
One thing
carry on.
Oh, I just wanted to point out as well that, as you were mentioning earlier, that Venus also rules Libra, which is the outer side of Venus, as you were mentioning. The Taurus element that you're discussing is, of course, all about what we can do for ourselves to provide for ourselves, the natural sextile to Cancer, emotionally as well. And that Taurus makes an inconjunct to Libra. So when we get to a point, as we all do in the world, because we just are not beings that are meant to be alone, we look to another who, when we cannot fulfill all of our needs, we will look to another in order to get those needs met, those essential needs met. The inconjunct reflects the fact that oftentimes we will project our needs onto others. So there's great stress, wanting that other person, in some cases, to complete me. And I just wanted to share briefly before it slipped my being. I had received an email from a client that had made a decision to leave a situation with a partner because she had recognized that it had become just stalemate. It wasn't going anywhere. They weren't on the same page spiritually, but it did represent a lot of security for her. And with this Venus retrograde now, she's having a lot of second thoughts because all of her frontline needs, these security needs, are basically just material. All the fears are getting activated. Will I be able to survive? I love all those creature comforts. So there's immense stress at times when we're thrown back on ourselves. But it's one of those things where instead of looking to another in an environment to create that sense of security through the sextile to the 12th house, to Pisces, to Neptune, it is about the sextile is in place for a reason, so we can more easily access our connection to God, to Source, so we can find comfort and peace and sustainment in that invisible realm and not seek something material that feels tangible but is only temporary to sustain us. And so how sweet to include, as you did, the sextile to Cancer. That makes that natural trine to Pisces. So there's like an open current that flows, right, directly to that higher connection. And so anyway, I shared those things with her, hoping that she remember, where real security lives is within.
Absolutely.
Everything else is temporary.
That's right. And it's kind of interesting and really, really profound, to be honest, is that Scorpio, being the polarity point of Taurus, and of course trining Pisces and trining Cancer, and forming that water trine, it actually is in my opinion, I'm trying to find the word over here, but the word is not trigger, but he's the one that kind of creates that loss or abandonment or that necessity to detach or break free from that fixation, and then through that loss or abandonment really induce a sense of inner reflection that then makes us connect to that Source or God, etc. And we do that through that inner reflection and that inner conversation that we have to ourselves. So that Taurus archetype really is stimulated through that polarity point of Scorpio, where it comes across, and as Jeffrey spoke about, the rug gets pulled under from your feet, and it induces that movement of the frog in the well syndrome, where the frog feels completely secure within its place because I can identify my resources. Taurus, I don't need anybody to help me out. I'm okay with where I am. And of course that limited perspective, or lack of maybe wanting to externalize the help in some way, shape or form, creates the limited perspective. And Scorpio says, well, you've got to evolve, so therefore I'm going to create this kind of shock in your life that's going to induce the necessity for a shifting, as it were. And of course that then shocks that inner comfort zone, that inner attachment to so often the material plane, of course, and then that's where that Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio trine really comes in, and it shows us that going to be moving into a new direction, we seek the comfort in, as you said, beyond the veil, as it were, and we actually strengthen our connection to God's source through that process, and we then obviously redefine and revalue those circumstances in our lives.
You know, I think what happens is that, you know, when we lose everything through the polarity to Scorpio, if there is some cataclysm or there's some perceived experience of losing everything, at that point you have no choice but to look to God, to look to the source. And so oftentimes it takes that. And nobody wants something else to be in charge of their choices, right? And so, but at times that fixed energy requires a shock, you know, through the square to Aquarius. It creates or it demands a wake-up call of sorts in order to bust through just the holding on. And so I can't count how many people have sort of found their way back to that spiritual place because of being brought to their knees, essentially.
Absolutely. So, will I survive?
Exactly. And so we're going to have a lot more to say about Taurus in the coming segments here, but we need to move to a break, and we'll be right back with Simon Forster.
Find out about Kristin Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristinFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of Evolutionary Astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristin's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristinFontana.com. That's Kristin, Fontana.com.
Shh! Over here. Here's a secret for a virus-free computer. ESET. They've been a pioneer in the antivirus industry for over 25 years. 25 years of innovative, top-rated antivirus protection. ESET's award-winning security solutions provide a safe online experience for over 100 million home and business computer owners. They are so affordable, fast, and simple to use. So be gone, you blue screen of death. ESET's on my computer. If it's not on yours, visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on ESET now.
iHome Audio has become the #1 brand in the iPod, iPhone accessories market. Visit the HealthyLife.net advertiser page and click on iHome Audio now.
What would happen if you didn't follow the established path? Would you feel scared or proud? Could you explain that helping the people of Peru improve their own community would also have an effect on your own? Would you rather make your own way or spend a lifetime saying, what if? Life is calling. How far will you go? Peace Corps. To find out more, call 1-800-424-8580 or go to peacecorps.gov.
I'm William Shatner, and this is Jimmy. Animals like Jimmy are often left behind by people fleeing hurricanes, fires, floods, and earthquakes. These abandoned animals cannot survive on their own. If you must evacuate your home, please never leave an animal behind. If you absolutely cannot take your animal with you, never leave him helplessly chained or caged. Many animals die because they cannot escape fires or rising waters. Animals need your help. Thank you.
Call PETA today, 757-622-PETA.
Okay, so you see a product you like on your favorite TV show, and you're going to write the number down. But if you're like me, you run around trying to find that pen and piece of paper, which magically disappears every time you need them. Then when you get back to the TV, they're already on to something else. Well, now there's a solution. Seen on TV products have combined all the best TV offers online and in one place. It's one-stop shopping. Just visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on the Seen on TV products. Then, who cares if that pesky pen or paper does a disappearing act?
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
All right, we have returned. I'm here with Simon Forster from Sweden, and we are discussing the natural zodiac, starting with Taurus and its relationship to the other signs. We will be looking at each sign in the coming months, and so obviously next month will be Gemini, and so on. So mark your calendar or just know that it will be in the archives if you missed it, and they don't stay there forever, so you got to grab a hold of those MP3s while you can. Also, I forgot to mention the weekend workshop, when you understand the root, the branches take care of themselves, with David Green, Nalbandian, and myself, was recorded and will be available for those of you who missed it, so probably within the next few weeks, and I will alert you when it's ready. Okay, so we're back to Taurus with Simon here, and I'll let you take it from here.
Thanks, Kristin. I just wanted to share, lastly, I think when we were discussing the way that Taurus comes back, or through the shocks from Scorpio, it comes back to that archetype of survival. But there was something that was really important that you had shared when you were talking about a soul that was going through the Venus retrograde experience. And, you know, when we are sometimes shocked by the Scorpio essence of we're going to lose everything, the Pisces archetype that makes a connection to Taurus and the Cancer archetype that makes a connection to Taurus, those sextiles, actually sometimes, well, not sometimes, quite often play the role of inducing the awareness that where we have placed our security, that's Cancer, externally, okay? And that's essential separating desire and how we have attached those securities in the external world. And when they dissolve, Neptune, or when they're dissipating or dissolution, you know, the cycle's ending, we find ourselves actually having that Taurus archetype stimulated incredibly strong because our instinctual survival needs are now coming in going, what am I going to do for money? And I'm sure we've all, at some point in our lives, been at that point where a job has ended for us, or, you know, we've had our security threatened in some way. And it's really taught us that deep spiritual lesson that ultimately Taurus, on one level, and its connection to Pisces and its connection to Cancer is that if you find security and confine the security in the source of all things, within God, and you understand that intimately, you recognize that the abundance, which is again Taurus, it's infinite, and that it might not necessarily look the way we wish to see it, but if we trust in our own abilities, in our own connection to Source, and we see things in a sort of interdimensional way, if we see beyond the veil and we see possibilities and new beginnings, then all of a sudden that archetype of survival correlates to an abundance of new possibilities emerging. And that, again, that trine between Pisces and Cancer really offers that deep ability to nourish the emotional body through recognizing those, that I will be okay. And I think that that's something that's really important for souls that have got the South Node in the second house, or if they've got South Node in Taurus, or if they've got quite a lot of planets in the second house, or lots of planets in Taurus, that you probably have gone through a lot of lifetimes, or even in this lifetime, through lots of loss, or have experienced those emotional shocks, and you've come to even create a type of psychology within yourself that feels that if I move, will I survive? And I offer the opportunity to recognize that Scorpio also offers that abundance of resources in others. And if you reach out and you say, this is the type of situation I'm going through, you could actually find yourself being supported by quite a lot of people around you with incredible amounts of compassion and the recognition for your security needs. And they can offer a home, or, you know, whatever it is that's really going, what type of change is going on in your life. So just to add that to the story of Taurus, because I've seen it quite often, and I feel that even though we've spent the last year and a half with the nodal axis being in Aries Libra, prior to that we did have the nodes moving through Taurus Scorpio, and we've also had Saturn move through Scorpio over the last 2.5 years, and again Pluto's square to Uranus in Aries. I mean, there's been incredible amounts of shifting and changing in our lives, and many of us have probably felt this deep sense of, how am I going to survive? How am I going to make ends meet? How's the economical crash going to affect me? Where am I going to, you know, all these questions of where? And I feel that as a very or an opportunity to really magnify the essence of what Taurus teaches us is to learn self-reliance through that process. Find yourself maybe even disconnecting from the system in some way and growing your own food, or trying to become less reliant on external factors, so that when Scorpio does come through and it says, hey, here's where you're holding on to things that give your empowerment away, the Taurus archetype says, I can do this, I can support myself, I can find my own solutions, and I can survive, basically.
Yeah, a lot of times people with strong Taurian signatures, they can be seen or known as quote-unquote survivors. We, especially with a Pluto in the second, we can pull many stories oftentimes where they've had lifetimes where they're sort of either left holding the bag, or the sole survivor, or perhaps even had to learn how to survive under extreme situations, learn to live on very little. And so if they learn to live on very little, then they're going to come here perhaps wanting to hold on to every little thing as well.
Absolutely.
In order to create a buffer of security. And so that's what makes it so difficult when their security is linked with survival, that front line for anybody in the human form. Everything that follows that is an afterthought in a sense. And so it takes a real shift in what is real, frankly, what is timeless, what is long and lasting, the things that allows the soul to move away from the attachment to the stuff. Yeah. And so that is a real primary lesson for these souls. What is security? Absolutely. What is actual security? So that's right. We can't believe we just blinked through that little segment and have to go to another break, but we'll be right back with more with Simon Forster.
Find out about Kristin Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristinFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of Evolutionary Astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed, personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristin's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristinFontana.com. That's KRISTIN Fontana.com.
Let's face it, we're all looking for great products at a great price because it's just a good way to shop and get the most value for your money. Well, here at HealthyLife.net Radio, we do that too. We do it for you. You won't find advertisers or affiliates that are not in line with our vision of bringing people a positive, happy, and healthy life. Although many advertisers come to us, few are chosen. Our advertisers are handpicked and specially selected to support our vision and give you great products at a fair price. So the next time you're looking to buy a product or a service, check out HealthyLife.net's advertiser page. Click through our advertiser partner sites. You'll be glad you did. And so will we, because you'll help support HealthyLife.net, and we can keep our positive programs coming to you 24/7. That's HealthyLife.net's advertiser page. Do us a favor. Visit soon and often. It's a win-win situation for you, our advertisers, and HealthyLife.net. Just do it. HealthyLife.net's advertiser page.
Want help quitting smoking? Try Premium e-cigarettes. They have an outstanding range of nicotine alternative products. Visit the HealthyLife.net advertiser page and click on Premium e-cigarettes.
The home for high-quality video is Vimeo. People who love videos love Vimeo. It's the community for indie filmmakers, popular entertainers, music videos. Even the White House posts high-def versions of its broadcasts on Vimeo. You can even upload and share your videos. So much to see, so little time. Visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Vimeo and get started seeing and sharing great entertainment now.
Take one step towards Spirit. Spirit will take 1,000 steps toward you. Come explore the world of evolutionary astrology with Rose Marcus. Rose Marcus is well known for her heartfelt passion, sensitive counseling skills, and dedication to helping others. You can now study evolutionary astrology from the comfort of your own home through live teleconference classes with Rose. To register for the next Evolutionary Astrology School, to read your in-depth monthly horoscope, or to book a private astrology with Rose Marcus, please visit her website, www.rosemarcus.com.
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
All right, we have returned. I'm here with Simon Forster from Sweden, and we are discussing the Taurus archetype within the natural zodiac. And I'll pass it back to you.
Thanks so much, Kristin. Okay, so what I wanted to do was share with everybody some of the other angles that Taurus makes to the other signs in the zodiac, and really give a sense of why things happen the way that they do, especially when it comes to relationships, or when we put our hearts into something, and when we have experiences of loss or betrayal. You have the natural square that takes place between Taurus and Leo. And because these signs are very subjective, and we're still developing our ability to understand ourselves in our own world, that square to Leo, and especially because Taurus, Venus is actually in Leo at the moment, we're getting these lessons or these teachings or these insights, that when we're following our hearts, when we're getting this opportunity to really actualize the special destiny that we all have within us, we have to recognize that abundance is something that is always available to us when we're on that path of following that heart. And it's that natural square between Taurus and Leo that shows us when we align our needs, our essential needs, with what is right for the heart, what nourishes the heart, we get that opportunity to have all that we need around us when we're on that journey. It kind of cuts away the excess of distractions. And that square, this is just one of the expressions, of course, of how that square can operate, but it fundamentally shares how those needs, when aligned with that destiny, that special path that we feel that we're supposed to walk, that creates our evolution, or that allows us to experience evolution, is there. Another way to look at that square as well is through the archetype of procreation. And again, because Taurus correlates to survival, we naturally, through the merging with others, Scorpio, Taurus's polarity point, we have the natural square between Taurus and Leo, Scorpio and Leo, and we have where we procreate and we create an offspring that is the child, Leo. And for many of us, when we are going through our lives, we have such a deep commitment to the survival of our children. And this is something that's actually innate. And also when we are in relationships, or when we do something through the heart, we have an incredibly strong fixation on it. And sometimes if we have loss occur with us, we lose that flame, we lose that essential life force that was part of us. And so Taurus comes in, and when we have that loss of abandonment, or we've had somebody in a friendship betray us, and we lose that light, that essential spark, we always regress into those needs of how am I going to survive without this person in my life, or how am I going to live? My heart is broken. And this is such an interesting archetype because, of course, the natural square to Taurus, from Taurus to Aquarius now, because there's a natural square in the fixed signs over there, it shows us that when we have this essential fracturing, okay, Aquarius correlates fundamentally to liberation and fracturing of something. When that fracturing occurs, or that liberation occurs, and we're sitting in that trauma state, that's that square that really teaches us that, okay, we are all going to be okay, and that we are going to survive, and that no matter how difficult or painful the experience might be, the loss of the heart, we will be able to empower ourselves through assimilating the truths that maybe were present for us in that lesson or that relationship that we had. And this is something that we can actually experience in everything. This doesn't have to be a physical relationship. Have you ever watched a child operate in pure bliss, and then all of a sudden as a parent goes, okay, it's time to eat, or we've got to do something, and we take whatever it was that was giving them that sense of excitement away? Most occasions they're gonna cry. They're gonna really, really get upset with that process, because you're essentially taking away that joy, Leo, and causing that trauma of detachment Aquarius. And they, of course, reflect to us that even as children and even when we grow up to be adults, when we're really invested in something and we feel so passionate about it and it gets taken away, we have that loss of heart, and it sends us back into that very primal instinctive state of, am I going to survive? Something that always comes to mind when I think about this process, especially in relationships like loss. How many of us have experienced loss in our relationships, and how we have that relationship to loss, and we feel like it's never going, it's done, it's dusted, we're never going to recover from it. If you watch films where somebody has a breakup and they always go to the couch with their Ben and Jerry's, and it's a case of offering that sense of, I'm going to stay in one place and I'm just going to cry and feel sorry for myself in some way and eat ice cream as I recuperate or give myself therapy. It's so much how we come back to that sense of love within ourselves, how we heal that trauma from that detachment. We go, right, I'm just going to give myself therapy and I'm going to, it's such a beautiful illustration of that grand cross that takes place with the fixed one. I don't know if you've got anything to share on that process.
Well, I love that example, and I love using metaphors and stories to understand, to really get into the axis of any archetype, or just moving through the zodiac in that way. I feel like the stories, the symbols, this is how they stick and they sink within us. So I like where you're taking it. It was great.
I'm going to try to see if I can squeeze this in before our next break, but Taurus also makes a beautiful trine towards Virgo and Capricorn. And there's two things here, actually. One of the things that E.A. and Jeffrey brought through when he spoke about particularly the first trine was, of course, patriarchy and the influence of the relationship between Virgo and Taurus, where we would, instead of using Virgo as an opportunity for self-improvement, we would have that internal crisis of criticism and sense of lack that would come from the judgments, Capricorn. And that would in turn create that very, it's like destructive inner relationship to ourselves where we don't have that self-worth. And we never value ourselves enough to actually feel like we've got something to value and that we've got something to offer the society or our lives or our careers. And it's an interesting dynamic because we all have the Earth trine somewhere in our charts, and we've all gone through patriarchy through previous lives, and we've all had in some way, shape, or form that resistance within us to feel like we are confident and competent enough to approach a new direction in our lives where we feel that sense of security and stability and that sense of value that we could offer. And, we struggle with that sometimes within our lives, and especially souls that have experienced extreme patriarchal conditioning. I know for myself, I've grown up in a country like South Africa, and I experienced quite a lot of patriarchy through my own conditioning, and I'm acutely aware of the symbolism of how much that sense of lack exists within us that's been psychologically ingrained. And now imagine if you're trying to actually, as I said, establish yourself in a way where you feel your honest worth, and yet at the same time there's that defeating attitude that Pisces brings in, and that sense of that non-security. That's how that trine can actually work negatively with Pisces and Cancer influencing Taurus. So those two symbols, Capricorn and Virgo, as they trine Taurus, has this essence of how we can actually go through the value is in the effort. And that was something that was incredibly profound for us to recognize on this journey. That even though we don't get it right the first time, it doesn't mean that we need to give up and be overwhelmed and experience the futility in the process. That's
such a great word for that trine, and such a Virgo word. Virgo and Taurus in particular, obviously, the word value. I mean, Jeffrey used to say that all the time when we were in class, and nobody wanted to attempt to answer a really what we felt to be a difficult question. He would ask a question about a chart, and the whole group would fall silent, not wanting to be wrong. And he would say, I don't care if you're wrong, I just want you to try. The value is in the effort. And so reflective, too, with the nature of Virgos tend to procrastinate or to make excuses why they cannot do something, and yet by just putting themselves in motion,
Capricorn,
it will produce results through the Capricorn trine, and they will profit from it through the other trine to Taurus. So anyway, I love that expression, Simon. That was good. All right, we're going to move to one more break before we close the show. We've got another 8-minute segment, but we'll be right back.
Find out about Kristin Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristinFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of Evolutionary Astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristin's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristinFontana.com. That's KRISTIN Fontana.com.
Let's face it, we're all looking for great products at a great price because it's just a good way to shop and get the most value for your money. Well, here at HealthyLife.net Radio, we do that too. We do it for you. You won't find advertisers or affiliates that are not in line with our vision of bringing people a positive, happy, and healthy life. Although many advertisers come to us, few are chosen. Our advertisers are handpicked and specially selected to support our vision and give you great products at a fair price. So the next time you're looking to buy a product or a service, check out HealthyLife.net's advertiser page. Click through our advertiser partner sites. You'll be glad you did, and so will we. Because you'll help support HealthyLife.net, and we can keep our positive programs coming to you 24/7. That's HealthyLife.net's advertiser page. Do us a favor. Visit soon and often. It's a win-win situation for you, our advertisers, and HealthyLife.net. Just do it. HealthyLife.net's advertiser page.
Want help quitting smoking? Try premium e-cigarettes. They have an outstanding range of nicotine alternative products. Visit the HealthyLife.net advertiser page and click on Premium e-cigarettes.
The home for high-quality video is Vimeo. People who love videos love Vimeo. It's the community for indie filmmakers, popular entertainers, music videos. Even the White House posts high-def versions of its broadcasts on Vimeo. You can even upload and share your videos. So much to see, so little time. Visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Vimeo and get started seeing and sharing great entertainment now.
Take one step towards spirit. Spirit will take 1,000 steps toward you. Come explore the world of evolutionary astrology with Rose Marcus. Rose Marcus is well known for her heartfelt passion, sensitive counseling skills, and dedication to helping others. You can now study evolutionary astrology from the comfort of your own home through live teleconference classes with Rose. To register for the next Evolutionary Astrology School, to read your in-depth monthly horoscope, or to book a private astrology with Rose Marcus, please visit her website, www.rosemarcus.com.
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
All right, we are back. Here is Simon Forster from Sweden, and we are discussing Taurus and then the relationship to the natural zodiac. Just before the break, we were talking about the power of that Earth trine, and on the break I was mentioning to him that, you know, as an evolutionary astrologer, as a counselor, as a soul worker, our role is to tap into emotion first. It's the first archetype within the water trine, Cancer, and it opens the door to the soul, and through extension will open the door to spirit. That is our ultimate goal, to help support the evolution of the client before us. And yet the Earth trine, when we are aware of its impact and effect in our lives and how we can use our own efforts linked with our desires to sustain something real and lasting, it is a wonderful axis there to support somebody's forward movement, to help them take strong steps forward, steps that they can, where they can feel the earth beneath their feet, they can feel solid in their growth and their movement. So anyway, all those combinations are the visuals that we can offer clients are really they do offer security as they take steps forward. So anyway, did you want to?
Yeah, I was going to say to you that it was such I love the way that you expressed that the whole paradigm of EA, and as much as we are talking about Taurus, and we'll go into the Libra and the Sag archetype, because they're so juicy. But I felt it was really, really important for everybody to know how incredibly powerful this paradigm is when it comes to soul growth, and it really does. It touches so many people in an incredibly profound way when they start seeing the beauty in the paradigm. And I'm here trying to encourage that ability to recognize its power beyond the physical, and teach the actual laws of manifestation as I see it as well. This whole entire zodiac itself gives us all the laws that we need. There's such incredible knowledge in that wheel. It's unbelievable. When you can access it, it's almost like being given the keys to the universe. That's the way I feel.
I know. I get it. I'm right there with you. It's like the secret door through.
Yeah, exactly. As we stepped through one door, we realized that there wasn't anything there apart from just absent space and space. And we're like, okay, so are you telling us that we've got to walk through this door into space? There's nothing there other than just space? It's like, yes. Okay. It's through the 12th house.
Exactly.
Anyway. I wanted to share, there was actually something really interesting about the essential needs archetype with Taurus. You were mentioning the inconjunct and the stress connection between Taurus and Libra. And as well as the inconjunct towards Sagittarius, Taurus and Sagittarius. And for anybody that's new to the EA or the angles and aspects, an inconjunct is a Virgo archetype in that way, shared with Scorpio as well, but it creates a necessary realignment through a crisis or through a circumstance that might not necessarily be seen instantaneously by yourself, and it creates a readjustment. And with Taurus as inconjunct to Sag, on one level it teaches us how so much of our own philosophy that we have, or our belief system or our cosmology, is attached to our values and what we think we need to survive. And it does. It justifies our belief system. So especially when you look at religion, for instance, or any form of governmental structure, they will always try to convert, Sag, us of their belief system or philosophy or what they intend for us to help. And then you'll notice that there's always a sense of values that they're trying to push. These are our values. This is what we value in that way. And it's that choice that we get to make through that natural inconjunct of, do we believe in that philosophy? Is it in alignment with our own needs? And so on and so forth. And that natural sextile to Cancer, again, teaches us that when we experience cognitive dissonance, when we are exposed to a belief system that expands our sense of what we thought the truth was, we sometimes always reject the truth instantly because of that security need that is emanating from Taurus and Cancer, which is, oh my gosh, my survival instincts have been threatened because now all of a sudden anything could be true. And also my security needs are now threatened as well, so therefore I'm going to hold on to that belief system as strong as I can, even if it is creating complete delusion. And I feel like, not delusion, probably denial, with that. And now this is where the inconjunct with Libra kicks into Taurus, how we will hold on to those relationships or those belief structures in such a way where it actually stunts our sort of search for higher knowledge or truth, etc., because of those underlying realities of Taurus and Cancer, where it's holding on to my survival. I can't let anybody essentially, shatter that feeling of security that I hold deeply within me. When you tell me that it's not really just about living on Earth over here, but there's more to it than that, and God is not an existential being that lives in the clouds, but it's internal, and it's that place that you connect to when you're understanding your true spiritual journey, So, and of course, when we are convincing and converting, we're always, trying to sell somebody else an idea based on what we think they need. Again, when we're talking to people in relationships, we're always saying what I think you need versus what you actually need. right?
Exactly. That is so true.
So we have the situation where, again, Taurus squares Aquarius, and it's the groups, and so then for Aquarius naturally sextiles Sagittarius, and it goes, okay, the group's belief system gives me a sense of security based on my needs and what do I feel is what I can have to survive. And that's where we get this ideology of, like, in numbers, safety in numbers, right? Because generally we're following a pack of people or a group of people in a way that have got a very similar cosmology to us. And when we're moving through the externalization, this is when we're in separation, Pisces, when we're separate, and we're not seeing everything as whole, we can always project those belief systems onto others and creating that convincing and conversing based on what we value versus what we think other people are needing for their own existence. Because I live over here in Sweden, and if I had to adopt some of the philosophies that are being applied by the Aborigines living in Australia, or even some of the souls that are living in California, for instance, I find myself being incredibly lost, or having to reevaluate what my needs are, because I'm basically looking at outside of myself for other people's philosophies and needs, etc. So it's an interesting thing to ponder when those archetypes come alive completely, and how Taurus holds that I'm going to survive, so therefore, I don't know if that was a bit too fast for everybody, but
that was great. Exactly. I mean, we do whatever we need to do for ourselves to survive at times, and a lot of people convince themselves of many things in order to make that happen. So, right. Yeah. And at the end of the day, we all come to see the light, and disillusionment in those cases when we've clung to something that isn't real is probably the most painful experience of all. Emotion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Simon, that was just a wonderful hour yet again. I'm so looking forward to next month with you, and appreciate your time with us here. And we will be back next month looking at the natural zodiac from Gemini's perspective. And we will also be back here next week as I reconnect with Rose Marcus looking at the transits ahead for the coming month. Until next time, namaste.